Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Yisukah, Parakeh, Chapter 5, Mishnah Dal, Mishnah 4. This is the continuation of describing the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, the celebration of the drawing of the water, or actually the celebration that came before the drawing of the water. Chasidim v'anshe ma'aseh, pious people and people of good deeds. Pious men and men of good deeds. What's the difference between the two exactly? I don't know. Probably Chasidim is a higher level. Chasidim means pious, meaning going beyond the letter of the law. And Shemaisa means people who have many good deeds. Oh no, stop that. V'anshe ma'aseh, hayu maraktim lefneihem. They would dance in front of the people that were present. Ba'avuka shel ar shebiyadein. With torches, burning torches in their hands. So they danced in front of the people with the burning torches. The Gemara says, the Bartanura brings down, what does that mean? They juggled these burning torches. Some juggled 4 torches at once, and some juggled 8. Okay? This is how they celebrated. They juggled those torches. And, as the Mishnah points out, who are the performers? Chasidim v'anshe ma'aseh, only these very righteous individuals. And they bring down here from the Tiferes Yisrael, Tosfos Yantif, only pious men and men of good deeds who would not become frivolous were allowed to perform. If you're going to perform, you still have to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Everyone else watched and listened. Okay, so we have the Chasidim v'anshe ma'aseh. They are dancing with these juggling these torches. V'oimrim lefneihem, and they said it in front of the people, meaning as they danced, they said, divrei shiras v'sishbachos, words of song and praise. What were those songs of praise? So again, the Bartanura brings down, they said like this, and just listen to what it says. Those who had never sinned said, happy is our youth that has not shamed our old age. Those who had repented of their sins said, happy is our old age that has atoned for our youth. And all of them together would say, happy is he who did not sin, as well as he who did sin but was forgiven. What it means, people who never sinned? Not sure. But that's how the Gemara, this is what the Bartanura brings down the Gemara. This is what's brought down the Gemara. That this is what they're saying. That's what it means, and they said in front of the people words of song and praise. Now, next part. V'halavim, and the Leviim, the Levites, b'kinoiros, they were playing harps, uv'nevalim, that's translated as lyres, I think that's how you pronounce it, Lyres, lyres. That's kinoiros, b'nevalim, v'mitzaltayim, cymbals, v'chatzoitzros, trumpets, ubeklishir beloy mizbar, and the instruments unnumbered. Everybody was playing. And these were the Leviim doing this. Al chamesh esrei malos, they were standing on the 15 steps. Hayardos me Ezras Yisrael Ezras Nashim, that would go down. These steps would go down from the Ezras Yisrael, the Israelite courtyard, Ezras Nashim, to the women's courtyard. Okay, there were these 15 steps that led from one to the other. The Leviim who were playing all these instruments were standing on those steps, and those steps were Keneged Chamisha Asar Shir Hamala Shebetehillim. The 15 steps correspond to the 15 paragraphs that start with Shir Hamalas consecutively. Sha'aleim Leviim Oimdin B'Kli Shira V'Aimim Shira. It's upon these steps that the Leviim would stand there with their instruments and sing words of song. Okay, now, all right. So, what's exactly these 15 steps that are leading down from the Yisrael courtyard to the women's courtyard? So now we need the picture. Okay, now in the picture here, this is the Azara, what we call the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, where you see they have the altar there. Then there's a small strip that goes along the side. This goes along the eastern side. It's to the east, right? It's to the east. It's towards the east. And there was a strip. It was 11 amas wide. Not that wide. 11 amas wide. That was called the Ezras Yisrael. That means if you were not a Kohen, that is typically how far you were allowed to go. Okay? That's typically how far you were allowed to go. Now, you see that there's a wall here, and there's an entrance, and then they have like this, half circle. Those are steps. Those are the 15 steps that are leading down from the Ezras Yisrael, from the Israel section, to the Ezras Nashim, to the women's courtyard, which you see is much bigger. Mm-hmm. But so it was on these steps that the Leviim were standing, and with these were steps that led down from this Ezras Yisrael to the Ezras Nashim. Oops, not too high. Sorry about that. Okay, so here you have this part are the steps, 15 steps that led down from this courtyard, this courtyard, and led down into the Ezras Nashim to the women's courtyard. So you had to go down. Yeah, to go down steps, 15 steps. Okay. Now, what also is pointed out by the both by the by Tanura, brought down here in the notes, is that the Leviim, when they stood here and played their instruments and sang, we know the Leviim did that every day, right? It wasn't just on by Simchas B'Sheva they did it. Every day they did it. But every day they didn't do it here. Doing it on these 15 steps was reserved for this occasion, the Simchas B'Sheva. Otherwise, they stood on a platform that was near the Mizbeach, near the altar. So when they Avaduchan the Shir Shal Carbon, the platform for the song of a carbon, that was near the Mizbeach, near the altar, in what we call here the Azara, the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, where the Mizbeach, where the altar was. Okay, now, but excuse me. V'amdu shnei kohanim b'shar ha'elyon, and the two Kohanim stood by the upper gate. Sheyored me'eretz Yisrael the Ezras Nashim, that through it they went down from the Ezras Yisrael to the Ezras Nashim, from the Israelite courtyard to the women's courtyard, which is really the picture I showed you before. This part here, this opening here, okay, going from here to here, this is the Shar Elyon. This is that upper gate. Okay? And two Kohanim stood there. And they had there were two trumpets in their hands. Kara HaGever, literally translated, means the announcer called out. Who is this announcer? So they bring down here, a Kohen was appointed to announce each morning before daybreak. Each morning before daybreak. There would be a Kohen who would announce, arise, Kohanim, to your service, Leviim to your platform, and Yisraelim, Israelites, to your station. So when Kara Geber, when the announcer made this call, Taku Variya V'Taku, those two Kohanim that we just mentioned by the upper gate holding the trumpets, they blew a tekiah, they blew a trua, they blew three short sounds, V'Taku, and then they again blowed a tekiah, the long sound. All right, that's what they did. So that's what they started, they blew. Now, this blowing meant it's time to start going to draw the water for the pouring of the water. So now after they blew, so now you had the let's make sure I got this here. Right. They blew and they began to go down the steps. Higiu lamala asiris, when they reached the 10th step. Which 10th step? From the top or from the bottom? Doesn't say. Here on the bottom, bring down from the Tosfos Yantif, either the 10th step from the top or the 10th step from the bottom. It's not clear. Mm-hmm. Okay. They reach the 10th step. Again, these Kohanim, they reach the 10th step. Taku v'hiriya v'taku. Again, they blew the tekiah, the trua, and the tekiah. Okay. Ad shemagiyin l'shar hayotze mizrach. They did this until they reached the gate that went out eastward. Okay. Now, they bring down here they continued blowing as they, the Kohanim, followed by the people. There was an entourage. It wasn't just the Kohanim. It was a group of people following them. Marched across the women's courtyard until they reached the gate at the far end that led out to the east. So again, the procession starts from here. They go down the steps, they're blowing the shofar, and when they reach the ground of the women's courtyard, they kind of, as they explained down here, they extended the blowing. Just 1 second, please. Oh, right. When it says that they went ahead and they continued blowing, so again, they reached, let me read it again, I'm sorry. Higiu la'azara, they reached the floor of the women's courtyard. That's what means they reached the courtyard. Tokabiru v'taku, they blew again. Hayutoiken v'hoichen, and they extended, they continued blowing means that they prolonged the notes that they were blowing when they came to the ground of the women's courtyard. They extended the notes until they reached the gate that went out eastward. Okay? And that's going to be, they come down the steps here, they march across the women's courtyard, and they come to this opening, which is the opening most to the east, that goes out eastward. Okay? Now, when they actually reach that opening, that gate that goes out from the east, this is very interesting. They then turned around to the west. They turned around facing towards the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash is the west. Here they're going out of the Beis HaMikdash, but before they go out, they turn around, they face towards the Beis HaMikdash. Remember, they said, our forefathers that were in this place, their backs were to the sanctuary of Hashem, and they were facing eastward. And they were bowing down eastwards to the sun. Meaning, there was a point of time where there were Jewish people who were worshiping the sun. Okay? Now, they were worshiping the sun towards the east. And intentionally, what they did was they turned their backs to the Beis HaMikdash as they bowed eastwards toward the sun. That's what it means. They had their backs to the Heichal, they had their backs to the sanctuary, and they're facing eastward, and they're bowing eastward to the sun. They intentionally bowed eastward to the sun with their backs to the Beis HaMikdash at that spot. That's what they did at that spot. Okay? Now this is part of what the people are saying. Our forefathers did that. V'anu l'koinenu. Our eyes are to God. Our eyes are to God, meaning we turn to Hashem, and our eyes, as I bring down here, but as for us, our eyes are turned to God. That's what they said. That was the statement that they made. Our forefathers had their backs to the Beis HaMikdash, but we're facing to the Beis HaMikdash because we're showing our eyes are to Hashem. But anu l'koinenu, and our eyes are to Hashem. Rabbi Yehuda says, Hayushainim v'aimrim, they would repeat and say. They explain here, repeating means they said it repetitively. Anu laka, we are to God, v'laka'einenu, and to God are our eyes. What that means is when they say anu laka, we are to God, that means we bow and thank God for what he has done for us until now. V'nenu laka, and our eyes hope for the future to Hashem. This is what Rabbi Yehuda said they would say, and they said it repetitively. Anu laka, our eyes, we bow down to Hashem, thanking him for what he's done for us in the past. Our eyes are turned towards Hashem, hoping for a salvation in the future. That is what they said. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, everybody.